Forgive me, Laponius, defeating the US Supreme Court when it came to gay marriage. Forgive me, Laponius, for allowing America to invade Afghanistan in 2001, Iraq in 2003. Please forgive me for electing George W. Bush twice. I wasn't able to stop that. Please forgive me. Please forgive me for Obamacare. I wasn't able to. Reagan changed me with one sentence. Government is not the solution, it's the problem. That's what made me a Republican. In the 20th century, 100 million civilians were murdered. Who murdered them? In every case but Rwanda, big. Right, so sometimes government is the solution, sometimes government's the problem, sometimes it's. And if there wasn't government around, we'd live in a state of nature which would likely be nasty, brutish, and short. So for plenty of problems such as crime, pollution, and roads, most countries have found that government is the best solution to some things. How else would you enforce standards? Like, what countries that do not have government-provided police, parks, and passports should America? So David Margolis profiles Dennis Prager in the Jewish Journal in 1992. Uncomfortable with his lack of academic credentials, he's lectured hundreds of times to American audiences about Soviet Jewry. That wasn't the only subject in which he claimed expertise. He leapt onto the Jewish lecture circuit with talks on why Jewish youth was alienated from Jewish life. All right, back to the number 6 point, Cassandra complex. Gurus like to claim prescience among their many talents. Their heightened insight gives them a superior ability to predict the future, and they will enjoy dwelling on those instances at which they made a purportedly correct prediction. They will not mention or acknowledge the times when they got it wrong. So I remember when Dennis Prager proclaimed that Bob Dole will never win the Republican nomination for presidency because he said something skeptical about Israel circa 1990. That was obvious. All right, narrative of grievance plays a big role in being a guru. A heightened sense of how the world is not right, ought to be fixed, and that they are the persons to do it is a common feature of gurus. So published a column. Could it happen here? It is happening here. We're becoming Nazi Germany. Unfortunately, the broader public has failed to recognize the guru's genius, has failed to heed their advice, and thus the world lurches from calamity to calamity because you guys aren't listening to Dennis. So gurus position themselves as a Cassandra. They see the future. They warn of calamities that will be avoided if only they are heeded. And then if you're a follower, you get a positive role because you get to support, defend, and promote the guru. And by so doing, you can make the world a better place. So I would give Dennis Prager a 5 out of 5 on this scale. Back to decoding the gurus.
The degree to which it's frustrating or productive, like you do engage, with the heterodox sphere, and I think that's good. There are discussions on there that are not kind of hyperbolic and partisan. I think people have genuine questions as well. But how do you deal with that fact that, there's so much heat and fury around the topic and so much strong opinion, but coupled with a lack of research? That's a bit that I would find personally hard to deal with. And I have had my run-ins with Sam Harris on a similar thing where he talked about the Christchurch shooter manifesto in some depth on several podcasts. He never read the manifesto. This is a particular bugbear of mine because I published research about manifesto analysis. But yeah, so that lack of research, it just really grates on my soul. And I'm sorry to project it onto you, but I'm just curious because you deal with it much more directly.
I think the only, I really like, first of all, I like arguing, but I also really like engaging with people that I have disagreements with. I've always felt like, I had fun on the.
Yeah, Putin and Zelensky definitely need to sit down with Dennis Prager so they can sort out their disagreements. Right, so Prager's Cassandra complex. Joe Biden and the Democrats, Prager says, why do these people want to destroy the economy? So in school at the Yeshiva of Flatbush, right, and before that, Prager's class liked Dennis, right? They always elected him class president. They were amused by his big mouth, but it never occurred to them that he was a good source for truth or for morality. So in the more than 50 years since Dennis Prager graduated high school, none of his classmates, to the best of my knowledge, have changed their opinion about Dennis Prager just being, greatest of all freedoms, guys, that of speech is disappearing in America, says our Justice Department is becoming what the Soviet Ministry of Justice, Soviet security agencies, and Soviet judges were. It's just becoming tools of the ruling. So we got a nationally syndicated radio host telling his listeners they live in a country that's increasingly like Nazi Germany. I would say that's not a good way of creating an appropriate level of safety in. At around 1997, I realized that listening to Dennis Prager every day, it consistently filled me with rage, even though I largely agreed with Dennis Prager, and even though he's ostensibly, all about promoting happiness and goodness. Instead, it seems like the man is frequently just pouring poison into the American soul. Enraging people is a great way of getting listeners, but it makes them less happy and less effective in life. Outside of a few murder zones, life in the United States for Dennis Prager listeners is generally safe and free compared to other countries on this earth. So inculcating gratitude might be a wiser and more moral path for a man intent on doing good. There are situations in life where rage is a more adaptive approach than gratitude, such as when you are fighting for your life in a dark alley, but these examples are few and far between. So by claiming he sees America on the road to Nazi Germany, Dennis Prager gets to place himself at the very center of things. He feels confident that there's nothing more pressing for you to consider than his idea. Dennis says the USA Today is a rag sheet on the level of Pravda, right? It's not just a flawed publication. It doesn't just have some mistaken op-eds. It's Pravda. If you supported the March 30th Trump indictment, you are not on the side of truth or of concern for. So Prager must have learned early in his life how to use this tremendous power of drama to command attention. I wonder who he copied. Where did he get this from? We are becoming like the Soviet. We sold our soul in the early 20th century when they said the government should educate our children, guys. Public schools, right? That's selling out. LGBTQ pride is totalitarian, right? Gay pride parades, clearly another Auschwitz in the Prager. America's become the greatest exporter of destructive ideas. Young Americans voted to ruin their lives, right? Just reading titles from his recent columns. Why my friends and I had more wisdom when we were 12 than college students and faculty have. Is Canada becoming North America's Cuba? Art Bell, you live in Canada. Is Canada becoming North America? COVID-19 and the failure of America's major. A brief guide to leftists. The left is evil and liberals keep voting for them. Right. Point number 7. Revolutionary. Right. If galaxy brainedness refers to a breadth of knowledge, ability to forge connections between then their professed development of revolutionary theories displays the depth of their knowledge. Connected with their narcissism and worthiness of being a guru, they are greatly attracted to claiming that they have developed game-changing and paradigm-shifting intellectual. This is the credential and the resume of the guru, right? Just as the public were keen to seek out Albert Einstein's opinions on all matter of topics unconnected, people also find it natural that one who has accomplished something great in one area should be qualified to offer advice on all sorts of topics. Now, genuinely revolutionary theories such as general relativity are few and far between, so the guru is compelled to manufacture constantly new revolutionary theories. I would give Prager a 3 out of 5 on this score. So he came up with the great line, the bigger the government, the smaller the citizen. All right, even though there's no evidence for it. And Dennis says, I am not looking for great lines to make a better living and get a bigger audience. I'm looking for important points to touch people like Deepak Chopra, Dave Rubin, and Reverend Sun Young Moon, and Gwyneth Paltrow, and Oprah. I'm sure that Prager does touch many lives. He says many things that sound profound in the final analysis. His most crowd-pleasing points are epistemic. Right, so what the hell do I mean by epistemic sabotage? Right, that's the production of ersatz wisdom. It's a corrupt epistemics that creates the appearance of useful knowledge but has none of the substance. So the guru is highly motivated to undertake epistemic sabotage to disparage authoritative and institutional sources of. He tends to disdain academic studies, but when he finds ones that support his point of view, he embraces them like truth bombs and frequently doesn't read very carefully to push his personal ideological agenda. Dennis Prager tends to treat truth like a used tampon. Point number on the Garometer, pseudo-profound BS. This is their core business. This is their stock in trade. They are most comfortable in the role of armchair opinionator, the wise man graciously offering their advice to eager seekers of wisdom. So revolutionary theories and galaxy brainness describe the content of their discourse. Pseudo-profound BS describes the form of their discourse. It has language that is cognitively easy to process, superficially appears to be profound, upon analysis turns out to be trite, meaningless, contradictory, or tautological.